Hello, welcome back. Today we are going to be putting new upper strut bearings on the front of the rally car. Last time I worked on it, I actually noticed that one of them was sticking up higher than the other. So I don't know what happened, but it'll be interesting to pull this apart and see what the failure was. I'm gonna be replacing these with a brand new set of white line upper strut bushings. So the whole point behind these is that the strut top is actually mounted further back and further in, giving you caster and camber. That's important on a McPherson car because you don't have any adjustment unless you start moving around the top other than toe and camber. So gonna take a look at all this and see what we got going on. One thing I forgot to mention, you do want to make sure that whenever you're doing suspension work, especially if you have coilovers, that you measure the ride height on a flat and level surface before you start any work. I already did that. I didn't show any of that, but I actually measured the ride height of the car as it was. Pick a spot on the fender, just center line the wheel, and then when you put everything back together, just make sure everything's there. I run a ton of preload on these coilovers, so I can't simply just pull the strut out and remove the upper bushing bearing. So I'm actually going to measure and record the distance that the coilovers are set at currently. I have a set of dial calipers. I'll just measure the threads here, and then I'm gonna have to undo all of this, drop the spring down to figure out what's going on with the strut bearing. So I'm gonna do that now. All right, so I got the strut bearing out. Be honest, there's nothing really obvious. I mean, aside from being worn out and rusty, I can't really tell why it's protruding like this. Oh, that's what's going on. There's a... Yeah, that's what's up. There's a sleeve that this bearing fits into, and it's shifted. You know what? I bet I could whack this thing with a hammer and it would go back to the way it is.
Go home! That's your home! Are you too good for your home? Answer me!
Jeremy Clarkson style, and it'll go back to its original shape. So suffice it to say, these are trash. I'm not going to reuse these. I'm not going to throw them away because they could go on another project, but I'm in here already, so I'm just going to go ahead and replace the upper strut bearings with some new versions. But that's pretty interesting that that would do that. To be fair to Whiteline and their product, I don't think it was ever meant to be used on a rallycross car. Certainly not one with stage rally suspension that I treat the way I treat this car. If you're gonna win, you're gonna break stuff. So that's just the simple fact. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and get this all put back together on this side, and then we'll do the same on the other side, reset ride height, and see where that gets us. All right, so I got everything put back together. Got this tightened all the way up. I wrote down the settings on the dial caliper and just reset it and locked it. What I ended up doing was just picking this last thread where you can kind of feel it catch. And you can see from there to there, it's where it was before. So hopefully, since it didn't change too much, the alignment won't change too much. I'm gonna check double. I'm gonna double check ride height when I have it back on the ground, and we'll just kind of go from there. All right, so we got everything on the left side reassembled with the new strut bearing in, and already have the strut rod lined up with the bearing here. So you can see, just go ahead and jack the control arm up nice and easy, and that will come through. Anyways, I'm gonna finish wrapping this up, and then I'm gonna do a quick once over on the torque stripes. So there's the old blue mark and the new white mark. So you can see it actually hasn't moved, which is really, really good. So this is just a quick and easy way to go over the whole car, and just make sure, there's another one, and just make sure nothing's moved. You don't have to actually physically get all of the tools out and tighten everything and figure out what's going on. You can just look at the line and see if it's moved and then move on. So real quick and easy way to make sure that the car is safe and going to be reliable for the next event, and that is super important. All right, so car is back up and running, back on the ground. I'm gonna drive around the block, settle the springs in the front, pull back in, check the ride height again, and that should be it. So that's going to be it for this episode of Ruckus Garage. If you liked this video, make sure you give it a like. And if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do so and follow along on all the adventures. We're going to be loading this car up into the trailer next weekend and heading off to the RallyCross event. So that should be a ton of fun, and I hope you join us. Thanks for hanging out.